Hi, my name is Ken Beanlands, and I am an aircraft maintenance instructor for the Southern Alberta Institute of Technology. Today, I'd like to talk to you about one of the alternatives I have found to using PowerPoint presentations in the classroom. Microsoft released PowerPoint 28 years ago in 1989. Since then, it has become a crutch of businessmen, salespeople, presenters, and yes, even instructors. Unfortunately, PowerPoint is misused more often than it is used properly. Over the years, there has been a lot of information published on how to use PowerPoint more effectively, but when it comes to the average student walking in a classroom and seeing a PowerPoint presentation, their eyes just glaze over and they settle in for a good nap. There has to be a better way to get information across. Fortunately, there is. One tool I have successfully used in the classroom is the simulator. When I first started teaching aircraft maintenance in 2013, one of the instructors had a portable flight simulator configured, which he brought to his avionics classes to show the students how instruments operated in a flying environment. Rather than just going through numerous slides that showed static pictures of instruments, he would actually interact with the simulator and demonstrate how those instruments worked in actual or simulated flight. The students loved the experience, and when they had questions about the operation of an instrument, they could see in real time the answer. I was hooked on the idea. At the time, I was teaching aerodynamics and had just started in on flight controls. I spent a couple hours preparing and rolled the simulator into the classroom. Of course, this was probably the most fun I'd ever had preparing for a class. The simulator included a control column, engine controls, and rudder pedals, just like a real airplane. I put the simulator's display up on the screen and started flying. I had set up the simulator's view so that the virtual camera was in chase plane mode, a view from behind the aircraft where the control surface and the aircraft movements were both seen. Students could instantly see my movement of the cockpit control, the movement of the control surface, and finally the reaction of the aircraft. If they missed it, I could do it all over again. What really surprised me were the questions I got. One student asked me to demonstrate an aerodynamic stall, something I had taught a couple of weeks before. Another wanted to see a spin, and the third wanted to see a landing approach. Throughout the remainder of the semester, I brought the simulator to class and spent a portion of each class time demonstrating the concept just taught. Helicopter demonstrations were particularly interesting as I'm not a helicopter pilot. However, it definitely emphasized the inherent instability of the helicopter as I repeatedly crashed it. I hadn't taught aerodynamics again until this past fall. As I started to prep for the course, I remembered, too late, that I had used the simulator in 2013. Unfortunately, the instructor who had owned the simulator was no longer with the school, and my training aid was gone. Teaching the course without this powerful tool has been far more difficult, and I don't believe that the students had gotten as much out of the course as they did that year. I've already asked for funds to build a new simulator for the fall 2018 offering. Surprisingly, Microsoft Flight Simulator was released 7 years before Microsoft PowerPoint in 1982. Version 1.00 was pretty basic, but it has really matured since then. Today, most flight schools use it as a low-cost way to train new pilots. In fact, student pilots are allowed to log a certain amount of simulated flight hours towards their license. For certain types of training, it has proven to be more effective than flying the actual airplane. Some users are licensed pilots who fly planned flights in the simulator before they do it in the actual airplane. By using a simulator, difficult procedures can be practiced beforehand. The realism of the latest versions of Flight Simulator are really that good. Some others are simply aviation enthusiasts, also known as aviation junkies. They may or may not have a pilot's license, but they do want to fly. I've seen some pretty elaborate simulators built by these folks, some worth tens of thousands of dollars, and using actual aircraft cockpits. Of course, Flight Simulator is only one of many simulators available to the modern instructor, especially those in the technical fields. There are simulators available for operating ships, cars, trains, trucks, cranes, drones, and nearly any other mode of transportation you can think of. True, not all of them are portable, but many of them are. 10 years ago, I took a course in TIG welding. The instructor had a welding simulator in class that he could display on the overhead projector. It was extremely useful to see both proper and improper methods of welding performed and the results of each. We even got a chance to do some hands-on simulation before trying welding in the lab. What an incredibly powerful teaching tool. In addition to CAN simulators available commercially, many schools have in-house development teams that are capable of building simple simulators. We have had a couple of these developed for our avionics program that show how certain components work. Some schools have students that are looking for programming projects. This may be a good place to get simple, free simulators built. As you can see, there are alternatives to the dreaded PowerPoint presentation. Simulators may be a powerful tool in your classroom. With some preparation, these classes could end up being some of your students' favorites. Thank you for listening and hope you've enjoyed this presentation.